Have you ever looked at a giant spreadsheet and just seen a wall of numbers? It can feel pretty overwhelming, right? But what if I told you that hiding inside all that data is a story, a business mystery, really, just waiting for someone to solve it? Well, today, we're going to be the detectives and crack this case wide open.
All right, so here's our case file for today. First, we'll lay out the business mystery we're trying to solve. Then, like any good detective, we've got to organize our evidence. After that, we get to the good stuff, profiling our customers, spotting key patterns in how they behave, and finally, solving the whole thing by turning that data into some real, solid decisions.
So let's set the scene. We're working with an e-commerce company. Now they're making sales, they're collecting all kinds of data, but honestly, they're kind of flying blind. They don't have a clear picture of who their customers actually are, and that is the mystery we're here to solve.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? Our company here has all these little clues: purchase amounts, gender, location, age, but they haven't pieced them together to see the whole story. They've got the data, for sure, but they don't have the insights, and that's exactly where we come in.
Okay, first things first. Before you can even think about solving a mystery, you have to get your evidence in order. For a data analyst, that just means preparing the data. And the main tool in our detective kit for this case is a really powerful piece of software called SPSS. Think of this part as laying the foundation for our entire investigation. We're using something called the variable view. This is where we tell our software exactly what kind of clues we're dealing with. Is this data a name? Is it a number? Because if we get this part wrong, trust me, the whole case could fall apart before we even begin.
So our clues basically fall into two main types. On one side, you've got categorical variables. It's like sorting things into labeled buckets. You're either male or female, you're in this location or that one. Then, on the other side, you've got continuous variables. These are things you can actually measure along a scale, like someone's age or how much money they spent. Knowing the difference between these two is absolutely crucial for asking the right questions.
Okay, with all our evidence neatly organized, it is time for the fun part. We're going to start using SPSS to build a really clear profile of this company's typical customer. We are about to put a face to all this data.
Every good investigation has to start with a basic question. And ours is pretty simple. Where are people buying our stuff from? This first clue is going to help us narrow our focus and find the real hotspots.
So how do we find that out? Well, in our software toolkit, it's just a few clicks away. We basically just tell it, hey, analyze the location data for me and show it to me as a bar chart. This is how we turn a super long, boring list of cities into one powerful visual clue.
And boom, just like that, you can see the power of a simple chart. We're not squinting at a list of locations anymore. We can instantly see our top-selling regions. It looks like California and New York are way outperforming the other states. This is our first major break in the case. We now know where our most valuable customers are concentrated.
And using that exact same analysis, we can pull another key insight in seconds. Look at that. We see a slightly higher percentage of male customers. It's just another piece of the profile falling into place. Another little detail about our typical buyer.
Okay, so we know the where and the who by general categories. Now let's get a little more specific. It's time to dig into that continuous data, the actual numbers behind our customers' age and their purchasing habits.
To really dig into these numbers, we use another tool in the kit. All we do is put purchase amount under the microscope and ask the software to show us how it's all distributed.
And here is a fantastic finding. The average, or mean purchase amount, is $85.50. This one number gives us a perfect snapshot of what a typical customer spends. It's a great baseline for the rest of our investigation.
Now this is where it gets really cool. A chart called a histogram lets us see the shape of our customer base. For instance, is there a huge clump of customers in their 20s, or are they all spread out evenly across different age groups? This single chart tells us that story in a single glance.
So far, we've got a fantastic profile of our customer. But hey, the investigation is not over yet. Now we need to look for patterns over time. When are people actually buying? Is there some kind of rhythm to this business?
To find that rhythm, we need to look at sales over a period of time. So we'll build a simple line graph. We'll put time on the bottom axis and the purchase amounts on the side. This is going to show us all the peaks and valleys throughout the business year.
And the line graph tells a crystal clear story. You can see these really sharp peaks, probably around the holidays in the fourth quarter. And you can see the valleys during the slower months, maybe late summer. What this all means is that the company can now actually predict its busiest times and get its inventory and marketing ready to go.
All right, we've gathered all the clues, we've profiled the customer, and we've spotted their patterns. Now, it's time to put it all together and finally solve the case for our e-commerce company.
You know, we started with what looked like a sea of just confusing data. But now every single piece of our analysis, the bar charts, the histograms, the line graphs, is pointing us toward a clear, actionable conclusion.
And here it is. This is that final, critical step where data becomes action. Because they know their top locations are California and New York, the company can run targeted ads there. Because they know Q4 is their peak season, they can stock up on inventory. And because they know their average buyer's profile, they can tailor their marketing messages so they actually connect with their customers.
And that's the real power in all of this. We've taken a raw, kind of messy data set, and we've turned it into a clear, compelling story. This company is no longer just guessing about who its customers are. It's making decisions based on what it knows. And with that, case closed. By following the clues that were hidden in the data all along, the company has solved its identity crisis, it finally understands its audience, and is a clear roadmap for making smarter and, frankly, more profitable decisions from here on out. So that just leaves us with one final thought. Every business, every project you work on, has data. The real question is, what story is hiding inside of yours, just waiting for a detective like you to come and uncover it?